So when I began writing back in 2005, I wrote a list of all the different type of stories I wanted to write and all the different things I wanted to tell. And one of the things I wanted to write was a martial arts script. Back in the day, I was a big martial arts fan. I used to practice the martial arts. I think the one that I studied the most was Chinese Kempo, but I jumped around to different styles. So my style was kind of an amalgamation of all the different things that I studied. And the reason I wanted to write a African martial arts story. I didn't want to write an African martial arts story where you had people of African descent doing Asian martial arts. I wanted to write a story where you had people of African descent doing African martial arts, because I knew that even though I wasn't aware of them at the time, I knew they had to be martial arts coming from these countries as well. And eventually I did find them. Of course, the first one I found was Capoeira because it was the most popular. So I sat down and started writing this script, and I named it Ngolo. And it was supposed to be about this about in the near future where you had where assassinations were legal, and you had assassin guilds that carried out these assassinations. And one of the guilds, called the Blood Men, specialized in African martial arts. So I started writing this thing. I was getting it going, but I wasn't a script writer at the time, so I stopped. So in comes Balogun Ojedade. Balogun is a writing friend of mine. He's a close friend of mine, and he's a practitioner of African martial arts. And so we were talking about different things and stuff, and I brought that script up. And he said, well, can I read it? I said, yeah, you can read it, but I didn't finish it. So I gave it to him and took a look at it. And one thing you also need to know about Balogun is that he is also a director, and he's also a script writer. So he asked me, well, how do you see this thing finishing? And I told him what I thought how it would happen, how it would go. So 2 weeks later, he came back with the finished script, and I looked at it, and it was amazing. So we sat on it for a while and thinking about what we wanted to do with it. And then we heard about the Urban Action Showcase, which is an annual event that they do in New York. It used to be sponsored by HBO, where they have competitions. And one of the competitions was Best Screenplay. So we said, hey, let's submit this to it. So we submitted it to the Urban Action Showcase for Best Script, and we won, believe it or not. So we're like, here we are. We won the 2014 Urban Action Showcase Best Screenplay, and we sat on it for a while. So after fishing it around here and there, showing it to people, seeing if anybody was interested to make it, we said, you know what? Let's take this script and let's make a comic book based on it. Let's do a comic book series based on it, and we're going to call it Ngolo Diaspora. So that's when we reached out to Peter Daniels, owner of Peta Studio out of Lagos, Nigeria, and said, hey, Peter, we want to team up with you guys to make a comic book series from this book, from this script. And Peter was like, cool. So that's how we got started. And the result was Ngolo Diaspora. We made the first comic, which is right here, and we just finished the second comic in the series. But we wanted to go a little bit further, so what we did was that we decided to make a novella version of the comic. And in addition to telling the story in a novella form, we also added shorter stories about different characters, so we can go a little bit in more depth about the Blood Men Guild, about the members and our main characters, which is this right here. So I'm telling you all this to tell you this. You know we're having a special this week. Ngolo Diaspora is one of the books in the special. And for today only, if you order Ngolo Diaspora, the novella, you will get a free copy of the first comic book of Ngolo Diaspora. So, order the book, get the comic. Got some great artwork in here. I'll show you a little bit of it. Some of the artwork going on in here and stuff like that. And you know that it's based on an award-winning script. So if you like martial arts, if you're curious about African martial arts, and you want to have a good time, get this book. And that's it. Y'all take care. Peace.